Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. What we're going to be covering here today is just a overview of Drawing Editor, so some of the new features to Drawing Editor in 7.3, some things that have just changed recently. A lot of these things everybody might have seen already, might be aware of, but we'll kind of show you, different setup things with these and how everything functions. So first I want to start off with is fonts. So most of you probably already know fonts are available now in 7.3. We can see with the detail that I have open, we don't see just our regular NonSDS2 font. When I edit one of these labels, we can see the font in there, so I'm using a Calibri font. We can choose the font style, so if we need bold text, italic, that sort of thing, we can change that on a case-by-case basis if we need here when we edit our labels. So in setup, we actually have an area to let you choose the default font that is to be used. So that's going to be under our Fabricator options in Drawing Cosmetics, and we now have a Fonts tab in there. We have a default font for labels, dimension labels, symbols, member labels, our bill of material, and sheet revisions. So you can choose which one is to be used there, as well as the style, whether that's to be bold, italic, so on and so forth. So where do these fonts get populated from? If you don't see a font in here that you want to use, why isn't that in there? Where does that come from? Well, that list is actually populated from our Windows fonts, and we can see those if we go into the control panel for Windows. And then within the control panel, I should have fonts. And within there, I'm going to see all the different fonts that are in Windows and should be available to me. So if I'm needing to use a font that I don't have in my list, I can get that font from somewhere else, make sure it's installed in my Windows fonts, and then I should be able to use that with NonSDS2 as well. The other big advantage, rather than just visual to fonts, is if you are using a font other than the NonSDS2 font, when you use the export PDF option here in Drawing Editor, or you do the PDF drawing export from the main menu, those PDFs that are created with that font on those, that text is going to be searchable when you open that in Adobe Reader or Bluebeam, whatever you're using to view those PDFs. So that's only non-NonSDS2 fonts. If you're still using the old NonSDS2 font, that text won't be searchable. Okay, so now on to the next thing. Just a couple things with our clouds that have changed. So I'm going to make a few modifications to this drawing here, actually. So I'm going to just unshorten that quick and show you a few things with clouds. Now, with clouds, the same functionality that was there before is still there with clouds. So if I use my Cloud Add tool, I'm going to use Auto Point Configuration for now, I can still add clouds the same way I did before. What's nice now is I have all the same enhancements to my point locators as what I have in modeling. If you're curious on that, there was a previous webinar that you can go to. But if I just simply use the online point locator to locate my next few points here, maybe I would need to cloud up this information here, allows me to create a nice straight cloud. Return. There I now have a nice straight cloud. So that wasn't always the easiest previously without that online, or your polar point locator would work pretty well for that as well. I prefer online myself. Seems to be a little bit easier a lot of times. Okay, so there is that. The other thing we can do now with clouds, the big change that happened with clouds is when I do a cloud add, I can now just simply click and drag a square, and that's going to give me a square cloud then. So that's really the biggest change with that. When you do click and drag that cloud, the direction that you click and drag, so previously that first one I went from left to right, now I'm going from right to left, that inverts the cloud, so it will create that cloud the different direction. So the big thing with clouds, like I said, is just the click and drag of a square. But I did show you the using some of the new point locate features before to make clouds, creating those the way we want them a little bit easier. These are, even when I do create those by clicking and dragging the square, I can still move those. I should be able to still modify those if I need, just like we could with a regular cloud previously. So that's our cloud information. Go ahead and just shorten that drawing back up. I'm going to get rid of one of these clouds so it's not so cluttered. The next thing I want to touch on is our symbols. So first I'll start off with whole symbols, and we can see we have a whole symbol over here to the left of my detail. In previous versions, this was made up of all different lines, a separate label, so on and so forth. It's now a kind of a special symbol within Drawing Editor that SDS2 uses to call out holes and whatnot, and we can just edit that with a double click. We get our whole symbol input up here, our hole type, whether that's a round hole or a slot. The nice thing about these now is if I increase or change, say, the length of my slot, that slot symbol is going to expand to accommodate all the text in there. Okay, so if I go ahead and change that back, I can change the whole diameter. My fonts are in here. I have a note down at the bottom of that, so I can include some note text at the bottom. Okay, so whole symbols are updatable there. And these can be added by the user. If you go to your Objects pull down, we come down here to whole symbol. We have whole symbol add. I can locate where that's to be at and then fill out my information. Maybe this is just a round hole. Maybe it's just 13/16 diameter. Say OK, and there I have my whole symbol. Maybe I needed to get rid of that note text. I can get rid of that, and I just have my whole symbol then. So makes it a lot easier than it was previously. The next thing we have on the list then is a new Material Callout tool. So Material Callout is going to allow me to pick any material or bolt or hole that I could use Review 2D item on. So under my Objects pull down, if I come down to Material Callout and pick Add, first thing my status line is going to ask me is to select system-generated material bolts or holes. So if I pick this angle, for example, it's going to come up with, in this case, the quantity and the sections or the piece mark. So now notice my button bindings up there in the upper left. I have left click for pointer, middle click as a label. So this is now working similar to like the weld combo or the label combo that you could use in previous versions. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick left click here for my pointer. I'll left click for the end of my pointer, and now if I drag over here I'll get a line, and then I'll middle click for the label. Comes up with an edit label window, has all my label text filled out for me. The difference between this edit label and a regular edit label window is the material designation type here. I can choose whether that's to be the piece mark only, material type and piece mark, or type size and piece mark. You can see that text updating in the label text up here as I change that. So let's say I want the material type, size, and piece mark. Say OK. That's going to go ahead and update that for me. Now, that is only available on initial input with the Material Callout. So if I go ahead and edit that label again, notice that option is no longer available. So again, that's only available on the initial input. Let me run that again, and I do have a button over here on my toolbar for it, so it's a Material Callout. I'm just going to hit that. Pick my angle again. And I don't have to use the pointer. Maybe I just want to throw the label in here, so I can middle click just to get me the label, and then notice my material designation type I have there again. So again, that's available on initial input. It's just a regular label at this point. So I can use that for holes. I can use that for bolts. So if I run that again, Material Callout, and this time say I pick the bolt in this angle, again, I can do a pointer, my label. So if I do a left click for a pointer, come down here, and what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to left click again, but now I'm going to hold shift, and notice my left mouse binding becomes a new head. So if I left click now up here, and I'm just going to use free point, so I get on the edge here. Maybe I need a new head here. Left click for my pointer again, drag over, middle click for my label, so now I get a multi-head pointer there. And again, I can choose bolt type only, bolt size and type, so depending on what I want to include there. And then again, it's just a regular label, so when I edit that, I don't have that option again, but I can come up here and type any extra information that I need. Like I said, it's a regular label, and you can do that on initial input as well, where you could type additional information in there. So that can be used on holes as well. So if I do the Material Callout here, maybe I pick my hole. This is going to actually add that hole symbol for us, and I can use that with the combo basically. So then I'll left click for my pointer, and then middle click for my hole symbol, change anything I might need to in there, say OK, and there I have my hole symbol with the pointer on it. And this works not only on details, but like I said, it works for anything you could use Review 2D item on. So you could also use this when you're cleaning up erection views. Maybe you got some sections on erection views where you need to call out materials. You could use it on submaterial details as well. I'm just demonstrating on the details here. So now going back to adding that to bolts and material, we do have some default options that we can choose for that. So under my fabricator options, in member and material piece marking options, under the submaterial tab, I have several options in here. One, I have the default designation for user added Material Callout. So when I do that Material Callout, what's the default information I want included? Do I want the quantity included in a user-added bolt callout? Again, default designation for user-added bolt callout. So several options there that help us choose the defaults. Now the next thing, kind of going back to symbols a little bit here, I did show you the new hole symbol. The other thing that's handy is if we're creating our own symbols in 7.3, we can edit those if we need to make changes, or maybe we made a mistake, we need to go back and correct a mistake on our symbols. I'm going to save this drawing. Now when I go to open, over on the right hand side, you're going to notice you have two new drawing types for symbols. You have regular symbols and you have global symbols. So the other thing to point out here is that symbols are now stored inside of the job. In previous versions, if you used a symbol, they were all global, and when you ship that job off to somebody else, since they were only global, the person you were shipping that job off to didn't see those symbols the same way you did. Now, since they're inside that job, kind of eliminates that issue. So we can open the symbols, and I'm just going to open a job symbol here for right now. So I'll select symbols. I'm going to open this approval stamp. It's a symbol that I created here not that long ago, just based it off of one of the old global standards that we have, kind of an approval chart here. So I have the special labels here for approved, approved it is noted, revise and read, submit, so on and so forth. So kind of what our symbol looks like that we're going to mess with here. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add this to say I add it to a detail sheet. So open up detail sheet 1. Maybe I want this to go in the lower right corner right next to this little title block that I have down here. So just like I'd add a normal symbol, if I go to the Objects pull down to Symbols and Add, select my approval stamp, and I get all this information in here to fill out. Maybe I want to say this is not reviewed, so I'll put an X in not reviewed, and now I have to place that. One problem with that is, notice my reference point is in the incorrect spot for me to locate that properly. And the other thing I might want to update is company name, who did this, the date. So I've got this symbol here, but I need to make some changes to it. So I'm going to just save this detail sheet, open my symbol back up, and I'll make the changes to it here. So I want to update this. I'll call it design data. I could change the font if I wanted to. Now I'm going to add some special labels down here for the by and the date. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a label here. And I'm going to add the special label, let's say checked by. Get that located properly, and I'm going to add another label here, and we'll just add the date. Okay, so now let's save that symbol, go back to my detail sheet. Now when I edit this symbol that I added previously, notice I don't get the additional special labels that I had in there. And I did forget to do one thing. I did forget to update my reference point. So let me do that quick. So I'll open that symbol back up, verify reference point, pick the new point that I want, verify that, yes, save it. Back on my detail sheet then, I'm going to re-add this symbol. Okay, so now I have my checked by and date in there. Maybe this time I need to do it as rejected. Checked by, I'll put my initials, and the date, I'll put today's date, 5/7/13. Now I have my reference point there in the correct spot. Locate that, return, and there I can fill in the information. So we can make updates to our symbols now. The other thing you probably notice on this symbol is we do have some kind of dashed squares in here where our special labels were. Now that's not going to print or anything. Kind of again something new just to indicate to you that you have a label there, but it's empty. It's an empty label with no text. Like I said, it's not going to print that or anything, just an indicator to us so we know there's some empty labels there. Like I did say, we have job symbols and we have global symbols as well. So we want to make sure job symbols are the only ones that can actually be added to drawings. So if we do create some job symbols that we need on other jobs, or we have global symbols we need to use on this job, if you go into utility functions, there's two options here to copy job symbols to global symbols and copy global symbols to job symbols to get them to be whichever we need to transfer to another job, or if we need a global symbol to be used on this job. We have those utility functions for that. Okay, the next thing I want to touch on is Erection Views. We now have the option to add member numbers on Erection Views. So under my Fabricator options, under Erection View Detailing options, I have the option here to always show member number on Erection Views, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on just to show you what happens here. So I'll turn that on, and I'm just going to detail one of my Erection Views again. They are all already detailed, but I'm going to do another one here. Just in a stick form, I'm going to do my second floor. Now if I open that drawing, that Erection View, the second floor, notice I get my member number in brackets next to the piece mark of my members. Now notice, or you remember that option said to always show member numbers. The reason for that is when I edit this, there is no option in here to turn on or off the member number separately. It's connected to the piece mark, so when the piece mark is turned off, the member number as well. Same if I check show piece mark, my member number is going to come back. So currently it's basically a all or nothing option with the member numbers because they are attached to the piece mark. So, but that is new. The next thing I want to show you is going back to my detail sheet, and I'm not going to save this drawing here for now. Something that has caught quite a few people off guard is the Savory Use option. A lot of people use the Savory Use option when they're creating their detail sheets, and it works a little bit differently in the way that it renames the sheets now. So what I want to show you is I have my sheet number down here in my title block. Notice right now it's just a label that says 1. Okay, so I'm going to do a Savory Use on this sheet. And I'm going to say the next drawing name, I have a bunch of sheets in this job, so I'm going to call the next drawing name 75. Okay, so now I have drawing 75 open, but notice my label didn't update. Okay, it's still just a label of 1. So what Savory Use used to do, Savory Use used to just do a search and replace of all the text. It would find the drawing name that you were saving in any label, and it would replace it with the new drawing name. Now that could cause problems if you had dates or company name, any contract number, any sort of information. If that label matched the drawing name, it would get updated. So to avoid that problem, what we need to do is for our drawing name, we need to not use just a regular label, but what we should do is use the special label $name, and that's going to automatically update to display your whatever the drawing name is. Now that's different than in versions past as well. In versions past, you would just see $name there still, whereas we update it immediately. No waiting for print time to see what that's going to actually update to. We do it right away. When I edit that, it's not going to display the 75. It's still going to show that I have $name in here, but display and printing will give me the 75. So if I do a Savory Use again, remember last time it didn't update that. My next drawing this time I'm going to do 76. I now have 76 updated for me. So that's caught quite a few people. Something good to know there. Now another thing that we've added is just going back to a detail here quick. Drag and drop configuration. So in previous versions, when I would click and drag dimensions here, I didn't really have any control over what the dimension would snap to. So in version 7.3.14 and higher, 7.3.14 isn't available to everyone yet, but what we should have is we will have a drag and drop configuration, so it's going to be similar to a point location configuration where when you drag your dimensions, you'll be able to determine what that is actually snapping to. and it should be under my locate pull down. I'm not sure why it's not right now. AMN7314. Just reopen Drawing Editor here. Okay, so go to a detail here again. When I go to my locate pull down, I have drag and drop configuration, and I can pick what is snapped to when I'm dragging my dimensions. So let's say I only want to snap to online. That's the same kind of online as when you're locating points and we create the temporary construction lines, and we'll snap to any construction line just along it. So if I do that, and then I grab one of my dimensions here and drag that, notice it's not snapping to any exact points or intersections or anything. It's just snapping along that construction line there. Okay, so if I want to change that again, let's say maybe I want that to snap to exact points. So I'll just go to my drag and drop configuration, turn that on. Now it snaps to exact points as well as online. So it gives me a little bit more control over what we are actually snapping to there when you're dragging your dimensions to update those. Okay, so that is drag and drop configuration. Now the final thing I want to just mention here is another drawing type that we have. And a lot of you have seen this probably in previous webinars or whatnot, but we do have another new drawing type called reference drawings. So reference drawings can be used to overlay a drawing within the model. And what I see a lot of people doing is a lot of people want to overlay their maybe the grids from their 2D erection views in the model. So they've been exporting a DXF and then they import the DXF back in to get information overlaid in there. Now that is a good way of doing it. That can be done that way. But what you can also do is just create your own reference drawings in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my second floor erection view, and I'm going to come in here. Let's say I just want to copy my grids and the dimensions for my grids. So I'm going to just I'm going to do a special and copy with reference point. I'm just going to select my exact point down here at what would be grid A3. Now I'm going to go to open. I'm going to create a new reference drawing. I'll just call this second floor grid. And what I do want to do in here, I want to make it the drawing scale the same scale as what my erection view was. It was 0.125. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do a special paste at original location. So I get just my grids and my dimensions for those in here. And I'm going to verify my reference point quick. So I'll go to File, Verify Reference Point. We're down here at grid A3. That's good. So now in my model, I have this reference drawing that I can simply overlay. So reference drawing, add, second floor grid, locate where that's to be at, and now I just have the reference drawing with those grids and those dimensions. So like I said, a lot of people have been exporting drawings and bringing them back in through the drawing conversion, DWG out, and then importing it back in. We could create our own reference drawings, like I said, right in here, copy and paste what we might need into the new reference drawing and not have to export and import all sorts of things. So that concludes my drawing editor update for today. If anybody does have any further questions on any of this stuff, please contact your support rep here at Design Data. We'd be happy to help answer any additional questions that may have come up. So thanks everybody for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.